Well, welcome to another episode of the Residential Developer Podcast. I'm the host. My name's Nathan Battishall, and we're continuing on our Mindset Month, week 3. Now, I want to talk about a metric that matters, and that's a metric called ROH. You know, when people think about development, investment, doing projects, ROI is obviously the key metric that we talk about, or MDC or ROI. There's all different terms that people give it, but I want to talk about today something completely different. It's a metric that matters. It's a crucially important metric when it comes to mindset. It's called the ROH. And you might be thinking, what is ROH? I've never heard of ROH. It's a metric I want to introduce today to anyone who's a residential investor or developer or someone wanting to do projects. It's ROH. It's return on Headspace. Return on Headspace. It's a metric that gets overlooked. It's a metric that never gets measured. It's a metric that gets neglected. It's a metric that I believe is the downfall for many, many people doing projects where you become depleted, where you become discouraged, disillusioned, and it's a metric that in the long run means that ROI doesn't mean a whole lot. I talk about this a bit on the podcast, and for me it's very, very vital and very, very key that there's a lot of people out there, they're so fixated and so fixed on ROI, and don't get me wrong, ROI is crucial. It is key. It's important, and you'll always hear me talking about running realistic numbers, making sure your feasibility stacks up, make sure that you don't overinflate. I will continue to constantly talk about that till you're so annoyed, till it's so embedded into your mindset and into your thinking and into your psyche when it comes to doing projects that it becomes second nature. But I also want to put something into your psyche and into your mentality, having a mindset of ROH, return on Headspace. At the end of the day, you can have all the profit in the world. You can have all the income in the world. You could have all the wealth in the world, but still have a terrible mindset and still have a terrible headspace when it comes to your inner life, when it comes to your outer life, when it comes to your relational life, when it comes to your emotional life, your social life, and every part of your life for that matter. You can have the worst headspace known to man and still have profitable projects. And we see it all the time. You've only got to look on Hollywood and see how vitally unhappy a lot of people are when we might think that they've got all the wealth the world could ask for. They've got all the resources at their fingertips. They've got severe wealth, but there's a huge level of unhappiness. There's a huge level of discouragement, disillusionment, and all that type of thing, because the reality is wealth is key, wealth's important, but it's never key at the expense of your headspace. It's never key at the expense of your ability to breathe, to be able to really just think clearly, to develop a positivity in your life, in your day to day, in your relationships. It's never key to default or to disqualify those parts of your life for the sake of chasing wealth, for the sake of chasing more profit, more ROI. So I just want to spend a short episode today just speaking into that place and actually introducing maybe a metric into your development journey that you could actually check on and measure at the end of a project, in the middle of a project, before commencing a project, to discover where's your mindset at, where's your headspace at, where are you at in terms of your stress levels, in terms of developing a mindset and developing a headspace that's clear, that's concise, that's able to really enjoy the journey and the destination of where you're headed, and not just default, not just disqualify it at the expense of more profit. And so for me, I think a key thing is just discovering and determining why you're doing what you're doing. For me, some people are purely driven by money, and look, that's your prerogative. But I think you need to have a bigger why than just more money, because the reality is you could have all the money in the world and not be happy and not be content and not be satisfied and not be enjoying the journey and the the destination of the journey of life that you're on. So maybe you are in that mindset where you haven't actually pondered it and thought about it. And I think a lot of people, they love projects, so they dive into it. And then along the way, they lose the why. They lose the reason why they got into what they were doing. I get the opportunity to speak to hundreds and hundreds of different people like ourselves who are on the journey of doing projects and developments. And I get to hear many exciting whys as to why someone wants to partake in projects and developments. And there's a very common denominator that I see and find in a lot of people, and beyond just generating wealth. Because generating wealth is obviously an outcome that you're looking to achieve, but a lot of people who've taken the time to really digest the why, the deep why behind that, you start to see some pretty exciting drivers that drive someone to generate and build wealth. And the drivers, although they're very diverse and different, there are very common trends and things that I tend to see in the why behind it. And one of the biggest ones, I guess, for a lot of people is they want to develop some autonomy and flexibility in their life so that they can actually build a life by design. I've got an amazing business coach, and we spent some time only recently up north in Queensland really discovering about developing a lifestyle of building your life by design, not by default. And I think we can very easily do that, where we can build our life by default, where we just go through the motions. We don't actually think about what sort of life you want to build, what sort of life you want to build for yourself, for your wife, for your partner, your husband, for your kids, for your family, and for those around you. And you go through the motions and you just build a life by default of what happens in the moment, what happens day to day, without actually taking a step back and actually designing what you would like to do, what you would like to achieve, and the type of life that you would like to build and go on the journey of building. And I do see a common trend where people take the time to really design what type of life they want to build. And for some people, it's to generate wealth so that they can help their children. And I think that's incredible. It's a noble thing, and it gives you a drive or something to strive for and aim for and move towards and really discover that why. For other people, it's they want to be able to build a life where they can adventure and go an adventure and maybe retire early or actually not so much retire, but just have projects on the go so they can actually go through life and adventure and see parts of the world and do various different things, and whether it be with a life partner or whether it be with children and both, or it could just be with friends, all different sorts of things. And everyone's got different drivers, but I think you need to have a why that's bigger than just generating finance or becoming rich. Because I think, what do you do then when you've got that? If you don't have a why, if you don't have a driver. I know other people that have incredible goals to make a positive difference in the world. So one of their drivers is to generate wealth, to do various different things. It could be to support some type of disease or to eradicate a disease, or to help in research and to deal with whether it be cancer, or it could be to deal with different elements. Other people have different parts of the world or continents or countries or areas where there is lack, where there is poverty, or where there is different types of things they want to do. Like, I know even myself, my wife and I, with our kids, we've sort of got some things that even within our own business that we support and we get behind to keep our eyes off of ourselves, to actually realise there's a world outside of our small world that needs resource and needs help and needs care. And for some people, that's a big driver for them. What brings them alive is to actually have a why that's bigger than that. So for me, I think to develop a return on Headspace, you need to look at what is your why, because a lot of people lose track. They lose focus on why they do what they do. They lose focus of, why am I doing projects? What type of projects am I wanting to do? Why am I doing them? And what's the end goal? And I've seen this time and time again where people get in too far. They get in too deep. They get too involved, and what started off as a dream becomes an absolute nightmare because they found themselves in a place a destination where they never wanted to head towards. They found themselves in a place or in an environment that they never intended to be. Now that, for some people, that can be where the dream was just to do one project a year, detach yourself very much from a lot of the actual running of that project to find a highly profitable project. I see a lot of this where someone wants to just do a really profitable high-end project, just one project a year or one every 18 months, essentially have an incredible team around them where they can detach themselves from that project. They've run their numbers. They've selected the right site. It's highly profitable. It's de-risked in terms of time. It's a fairly risk-free type project. They have an incredible team at a planning stage to execute and pull off that project to get it ready for construction. They have an incredible building team that can really pull the trigger and take the stress out of that project and deliver it where there's very minimal input and time on their case, and that just ticks over. And they do that year after year or every 18 months, and then all of a sudden they're able to generate some really incredible wealth while doing that. And I see that started as the dream. All of a sudden they decided to scale. They decided to, let's increase to 3 projects, to 5, to 10. All of a sudden they're more invested than they ever wanted to be. They're playing with bigger numbers. They're taking higher risks. They're dealing with, they're dealing with, outcomes that can impact the next and cause a domino effect. And all of a sudden what started as a very stress-free, enjoyable process becomes a nightmare where they dread getting up, they dread going through, but they're going through the motions and they get to that place where it's just project after project. And then what happens is that mindset, that headspace becomes one that's crowded with stress, a headspace that's crowded with anxiety. And I see this where there's such anxiety on some investors and developers on their plate, where it then projects off of them onto their family. So it starts to seep into their home life, into their relationship with their spouse. It begins to seep into their family life. It seeps into their friendships. It seeps into their social life. It seeps into their own emotional and mental life. And all of a sudden there's high anxiety, there's fear, there's worry, there's stress. There's all the different elements that just can cause you to get to a place where you become severely unhappy. And although on the outset people might look at your website or your development company's social media and just see that you're killing it, that your developments are killing it, that you're doing all these incredible projects, but people often look at the results, they look at the product, they look at all the different things, and they just automatically think that person must be so content. They must be so satisfied. They must be so over the moon, only to realize that person is just drowned in worry, where they go to bed full of worry, full of frustration, full of anger, that they're waking up then just thinking about the projects, stressing about the projects, and then their whole day is spent putting out fires and dealing with issues and dealing with concerns and dealing with constraints, and then all of a sudden they're finding that their stress, their fear, their worry, their anxiety, then they're putting it onto their team, they're putting it onto their consultants, they're putting it onto their builders, they're putting it onto their agents. That becomes just such an absorbed stress ball of, I guess, just negativity and frustration and worry and anxiety. And then all of a sudden it just snowballs, and then the scaling of that just only exceeds the amount of fear and worry and anxiety. And before you know it, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years rolls by, and the dream you once had is long, long gone, and you're in a place where life can be a mess. I guess I've journeyed long enough in this niche and in this space to be able to, I guess, journey with different people in their highs and in their lows over the course of my career, where I've seen people at their highest of highs, but I've also unfortunately had the space where I've seen people at their darkest of lows, where I've seen relationships get completely destroyed through terrible headspace and not really dealing with the mindset of becoming a highly successful developer, of having a strong return on headspace and dealing with this element of your headspace and dealing with this element of developing a healthy and a clear mindset and a healthy and a clear headspace to be able to do what it is that you love to do. And for me, it's, again, and I've said this over the last few episodes, they're topics that don't often get discussed because we're so fixated on pulling the trigger on projects that we don't take the time to help people really get a clear why behind why they're doing these type of projects in the start. If you're passionate about it, that's one thing, but passion is one thing, but there's so many other things in your life and in our life and in my life that we need to ensure that we keep pivotal and important. Like, everyone's got different, I guess, hierarchies of what is valuable to them in their life, and we're all at different stages of life. Like, some of you listening don't have kids. Some of you listening have got kids, young kids. Some of you got adult kids. Some of you don't want to have kids. Some of you are well past that journey where your kids are now grown up. Some of you don't have a life partner. Some do. Some are struggling in their relationships. Some are in a great place in terms of their relationships. We're all on different journeys and different places, but I think it's important to, develop some hierarchies of things that matter most to you in your life, and we all need non-negotiables. For me, and you're speaking to someone who often gets it wrong, but I've tried, especially the last few years, I've tried to really take times to really take stock of what I'm doing, where I'm going, and develop a plan. And we spoke a lot about that last episode, about the importance of having a plan, because without vision and without a plan, you'll wander aimlessly and you won't go anywhere. And also, without a plan, you will wander into rooms and into areas and into doors that you never wanted to go through, doors that are not going to give you a good return on headspace, that are not going to give you that metric of a great return in a good, clear, strong, sound headspace. And by having a plan, you can constantly reevaluate, are you going in the direction in which you intended to go? See, it's important to have a plan in terms of the type of projects you want to do, the type of wealth you want to generate, but in your plan, and maybe you've already developed a plan, but does your plan also involve things like the type of relationships that you want to have? Does it involve how you want to wake up in the morning? Does it involve how you want to, when you put your head down on the pillow? When you're going on a holiday, are you spending the entire holiday stressed out, worried, how am I going to get through this challenge or this problem or this situation? See, part of our plan needs to involve the quality of life that we want to build. It needs to involve the type of mentality we want to have in our life. It also needs to involve, I believe, what we want our headspace to be like. Because for me, I think that's true wealth. True profit isn't just money in the bank, isn't just properties in your name. For me, true wealth is having strong, healthy relationships. It's having strong families. It's having strong friendships and connections. It's having a strong body physically so that you can get up and you can be healthy, and so that you can go about the dreams and the vision and the aspirations. But it's also having a strong mindset mentally and emotionally as well, and being able to really bounce back from challenges and situations, but also understanding and discovering what type of quality of life you want. There's an epidemic around the world when it comes to projects and developments where there is such a high level of stress and anxiety and fear and worry. And maybe you're listening to this episode today and you're in that exact place. And I'll guarantee that there's a large percentage of people that have, in the last 12 months, faced one of those challenges where you've just had severe worry or fear or anxiety or stress, severe stress where you're just waking up stressed. You're at the point where you're starting to question, why did I even get into this process? Why did I even go down this path? And if you're in that place, don't fear or don't fret, because you're not alone. Everyone who's done projects will have been in that place. But also get encouragement from this. And I don't want this to be a heavy episode, but I want to talk about topics and things that not many people talk about because it's key. It's key. And I know it's key because I'll guarantee it hits a nerve with people. I've been in these positions and places myself where you're up at night, you're stressed, you're thinking about it, you're wondering how you're going to overcome that situation or that challenge, or you've got yourself so in deep, or you're too far in, or you're having to manage something that you never intended or didn't want to manage, and you don't have a clear way forward. And the good thing is there's always a way forward. There's always a way through, and there's always a way that you can pivot, that you can make adaptations and changes. And that's the beauty of being able to design your life, to design what you say yes to and what you say no to. I heard this recently and I think it's terrific. The true mark of someone isn't what they say yes to, it's actually what they say no to. Because often we say yes to too many things. Maybe you're saying yes to too many deals. Maybe you're saying yes to the wrong deals. Maybe you need to start to say no to some deals. Maybe you need to start to say no to some responsibilities. And maybe you need to decide that to get to where you need to get in terms of your mindset and the return on your mindset, that you actually need to relinquish some control and deal with the control issue and hand over the control to some competent people around you who are actually often more capable than you realise. A lot of people, I guess, they get into this space because they love managing things, which is great. I think if you're a good project manager, if you're good at managing, you'll often go well in this space. The challenge can be where is making that gear shift from management to leadership. Because I think that's where I find a lot of people get stuck in the management side of projects and developments, where if you look at their dreams, their goals, their aspirations, the why behind why they got into doing projects and property and development, it was very much for some type of freedom, whether it be financial freedom, more time with their partner, more travel, generational wealth, be able to really enjoy time, quality life with their kids, to, not be up late at night, not have to hustle as hard, all that sort of thing. So this is where really making that shift, if you want to develop a strong headspace, one of the big areas I believe that you can get incredible results is learning to become a leader rather than a manager. The beauty of doing projects and developments is you get to choose. You get to design the life that you want to build through your projects. And the beauty is there's so many people that have gone before you that have been able to pave this journey and walk this journey. For some people, you will want to be a little bit more hands-on. Other people, though, the idea, the vision is to be a lot more hands-off. And one of the best ways to do that is to grow your leadership skills and your leadership abilities. Now, look, some people are born natural leaders. But I truly believe leaders can be grown and leaders can be built. For some people, it comes easy. For other people, it's a lot of grind. It's a lot of hard work. The good thing is today, in this day and age, we've never had more access to leadership material and the ability to grow and develop and strengthen as a leader than we have in this day and age. And so the beauty is, if you can grow your ability to lead, your ability to cast a vision, to have a vision, to build a vision, to get that vision down on paper, to have a direction and a plan in which you want to go. A good leader then is able to go in that direction and inspire and build a team around them that can take them onto that destination. And see, a good leader also understands that a good leader develops managers around them that can manage the process, and they cast the vision to those managers so that those managers can take the project, in this case, in the direction in which they want to go. And so I find a lot of people, they get so bogged down in the management, and they get to the point where they're micromanaging every little element, every little compartment, every little component, and all along they either burn their team, or they don't build their team, or they don't trust their team, to the point where they then try and take on too much, and they take on more than they can handle and more than they can fill. And they get to the point where they are so run down, so stressed out, so anxious, so tired, so worn out that they literally burn everyone around them. They begin to burn their team, they begin to burn their consultants, they burn their builders, and slowly but surely they begin to erode the closest people in their world, being their partner, their families. And I've seen this time and time again where marriages and relationships have just been blown up as a result of just losing focus on the main thing and just getting too fixated and focused on having to do so much that you lose track and you lose focus of the important things and the why behind why you were even partook in that in the first place. And I just think that's a key thing if you want to develop a strength of a return on Headspace, is looking at, okay, if you're so invested and bogged down, how can you become a better leader? How can you become a better leader that is able to build an incredible world-class team that can help you pull off and pull the trigger on these projects? How can you become someone who is able to identify and align yourself with only the type of projects you want to do? Now, some people they lose track of why they even got into it, that they take on things they should never have taken on. They take on projects that they promised themselves they would never do. They take on projects that were never in alignment and in sync with where they were going. We need to, for me, there's often an alignment issue where you need to align yourself with the type of projects that align well with your direction and your life and where you're headed and what you're building and your core values and that type of thing too. Because there's certain things that just will not align with your life. I decided a long time ago in my career, I don't want to align myself in the volume, that volume space, volume building, volume construction, all that side of it, because it's just so, I just found it to be such a stressed out environment that I just didn't want to, I didn't want myself and I didn't want our team involved in that environment, because it just, for me, it just depleted. Firstly, it was not profitable, but it just depleted. It depleted my headspace. So I had to make a decision, Yes, we're going to forego some losses for a time. We're going to forego, opportunities and things, but they're opportunities that were taking me further away from where I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And so alignment is very key. Now, all of us align with different types of projects. All of us align with lengths of projects and types of projects and certain types of projects. Like for me personally, I don't align with Class 2 construction at the moment, whether that be in my design business side of things or at my own personal development journey. I don't align with it because I've seen such a highly stressed out environment, such a huge environment of delays and uncertainty and all that sort of thing, and I'm seeing the result of that, and even some of the backlog of even a couple of projects we're wrapping up. For me, it's something it's an alignment thing for me now, that I don't want to go into that space. Now, all of us grow in different areas and things change in our life where we may grow our capacity, or certain things shift and change where we're constantly able to morph and shift. But if we don't take stock and look around, I always say you've got to look left, you've got to look right, you've got to look forward, you've got to look back, you've got to look up, and you've got to look down. You've got to have a 360-degree view, to be able to look around and just see, is this where I want to go? Is this where we're headed? Is this the place in which I have designed and determined that I want to go, that I want my life and direction to go, that my family want to go, and that side of thing, to ensure that you develop a strong headspace. So for me, alignment is super key. It's critical to align yourself with projects that, are that are super profitable. Like for me, I think for me, something I encourage, and again, everyone's different, but I think for a lot of people, they want to be able to do properties and do projects to generate some capital, generate some wealth, to enjoy that, for all the different reasons we spoke about before. But I think, for a lot of people, I think it's looking at what's low stress, what's profitable, and what's repeatable. So, for example, what type of projects can you do that are low stress? Low stress where you can have great people around you that can manage those projects from a planning and from a construction point of view. What type of projects are profitable? Where you can de-risk them, they're profitable, they're lower risk, they're highly profitable, where you can do really well. And also, what type of projects are repeatable? Where a particular suburb or a particular area where you can repeat that type of project or that type of process over and over and over and over again. Yes, climates change, all that sort of it. I get it. We talk about that all the time on this podcast. But looking at, okay, what are some things you can put in place and some checks that you can put in place within your plan so that you can ensure that you have a high return on headspace, so that you can continue to remain strong and stable with a good, strong, clear mindset, so that those around you, especially your loved ones, especially the ones who matter the most, can see the best version of yourself, so that you can be the best version of yourself, first and foremost for your loved ones, and also for the people around you that you get to do life with and enjoy life with on a day-to-day basis. So for me, I'm going to wrap up that episode here. It's a metric that doesn't get talked about. I want to encourage you to begin to talk about that metric, begin to envision it, begin to come up with a plan, and in that plan, start to look at what type of mindset, what type of headspace you want to develop and have on the journey of your development journey, and constantly reassess how you're tracking, how you're aligning with that, what you can shift, what you can morph, what you can tweak and change, and what metrics can be dialed up or dialed down to get you closer to where you know that you want to be, so that you can enjoy the life that you're designing ahead. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. As usual, make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you've enjoyed this, share it with the people around you, and we look forward to seeing you next week.